High school popularity simply does not exist. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a sit-down video essay formatted type of video because today I'm going to be talking about high school popularity. Which just loaded a bit faster. I made notes for this video, so I'm going to be reading them off of my laptop. So let's get started. Let's go straight into the first point. In high school, popularity does not actually exist because the idea of popularity that we are used to is there being one central person or a group of central people at the top, and then the hierarchy just falls from there, and you have the levels progressively getting vaster and also less prominent. So the most important few are at the top, and then the nerds and everybody else is just at the bottom. But the problem is that in high school there are many different groups. There are jocks, there are the nerds, the drama kids, band kids, cheerleaders, and so on. But if you actually pay attention, within these groups there is always a central person. There is always a king or a queen or like a lead person of each group. However, if you listen closely to the conversations had in each of these groups, or conversations pertaining to other groups, you will find that each group has disdain for every other group because they're simply different from them. They're different than they are. The jocks don't like the nerds because they're nerdy. The drama kids don't like the cheerleaders because they're vain and conceited. Or whatever the case may be. There's always something about each group that every other group may or may not like. Now, going back to the idea of popularity that we understand from like the media and TV shows and things like that, there's always a mean girl or a group of mean girls. For the purpose of this video, we're going to use the term mean girl to refer to anybody that talks badly about anyone else, regardless of whatever group they're in. So keep that in mind for the rest of the duration of this video. So again, each group talks bad about every other group, or maybe one other group or a number of other groups, based off of this disdain that they have because of the differences that they have between the two groups. So essentially, the idea of like a central mean girl or head mean girl of an entire school is just an illusion because these mean girls exist everywhere in every group. And let's be completely and totally honest, these mean girls don't necessarily just talk about people who are not within their clique or within their group. They also talk about people within their clique or within their group who are not at the level that they are. Remember that I said in each group, there is its own separate hierarchy. Now that we've formed the basis of the conversation, the next question would be, why is it that we deem the quote-unquote jocks and cheerleaders bad for talking about people or making fun of people or feeding into a hierarchy of some form when all groups do this very thing to some extent? If we break it down a little bit further, more often than not, people who want to be, in sports, in cheerleading and things like that, also want to be in the spotlight in other ways. For example, they may want to be prom king or prom queen. They may want to be on the homecoming court. They may want to earn certain superlatives or participate in the school pageants. If your school has ever had a school pageant, because mine have. So this want to be in the spotlight pushes them into the spotlight via the fulfillment of their desires to be in the spotlight. They want to be these things, so they're going to go for the positions that are going to put them in that place. Basically, they want to be in the spotlight. So they're going to find ways to be in the spotlight, whether that be prom king or queen or whatever else. However, with being in the spotlight, there not only comes the exaltation of victories, but also of failures. One of these failures could be failing to uphold a pleasurable moral standing by engaging in gossip. So this, by extension, puts these particular people in the spotlight as mean girls and as bullies. So the bad things that they've said about each other and others, and even the mistakes that they've made, are magnified to the greatest extent. So that one time that Becky called that one girl fat, or the other time when Sarah said that band kids were weird, or the other time when Jake said that women were only made for the kitchen. Yeah, none of these failures will be forgotten. And it's definitely not to say that any of these things are okay to say, but it is to say that because of the position that they're in, the spotlight that they're in, they have all of their failures magnified, whereas someone who is in the spotlight to a lesser degree will not have their failures magnified, even if they are just as severe as that of a popular kid. Therefore, I implore you to think about this. There is an inaccurate perception based off of a misplaced spotlight. Now, let's examine the mean girls in other cliques. First, I want to start off with an experience of my own that changed my perspective on this topic of mean girls looking a certain way, acting a certain way, or engaging in a certain activity such as cheerleading. Basically, it distorted the stereotype of a mean girl that I personally held, and the stereotype that many people hold. When I was in 11th grade, my teacher There is no way on God's green earth. When I was in 11th grade, my art teacher begged me to be in AP art. In her opinion, my art was deemed worthy to be in such a class. However, I myself did not think that my art was worthy enough to be in a class like that, so I refrained. However, somehow my schedule was changed without my knowing, and I was placed in AP art. Upon joining, I didn't know anyone, and I could tell that a clique had already been formed prior to my joining. The class was small and there weren't many people in there, but of the people present, you could tell that they were either friends prior to joining the class or friends for some time after joining the class. The point is, I, who knew no one in the class, was entering into a space where everyone knew everyone else. So I was essentially the outsider. Not only that, I was also quiet, so naturally that allowed me to overhear other people's conversations. One day while sitting in AP art, I heard one of the girls say something along the lines of, yeah, I had seen the art of someone else they had let into AP art. When I had seen it, I thought, wow, so they just let anyone into AP. And I'm editing this right now, but it's like, girl, who made you the judge? Like, you're the student. You're a student, yeah. At that, I was disheartened. I myself, who was already struggling to accept the fact that I was placed in AP art despite feeling that my abilities weren't up to par, had to grapple with the fact that when we did show each other our artworks, which did happen in the class periodically, I wouldn't only be judged by the eyes of my teacher, but I would be judged by eyes that were far more critical, those of my peers. From that point on, I overheard more and more nasty comments and conversations, gossip and the works from this particular group, leading me to believe that they were, well, really mean people. But then I had to think back on all the other cliques aside from the art kids that I'd come across in my time of being a student. From my experience, the tech guys tended to be very misogynistic, about as misogynistic as the jocks, if not more. The only thing that differentiated them from frat guys is that frat guys have a higher chance of actually making physical contact with a woman. The drama kids had inflated egos and superiority complexes. And as inaccurate as television can be, I can't lie, that depiction of drama kids in the show Everything Sucks is actually accurate. The art kids were extremely judgmental, extremely critical, as if they were Picasso himself. Like, they acted like they were the art teacher. And it's like, girl, I don't think so. I don't think so. The band kids tend to be very closed-minded and also very judgmental, assuming that everyone else around them is talking bad about them. And in a way, it's very egotistical because, like, you really think that everyone else just has time to talk about you. Like, even if it is in a negative way, you think that everyone else is always thinking about you, and that's just not the case. It's just not reality. Aja! The nerds and the geeks tended to be very uppity, believing that they were just so much smarter than us lower level imbeciles. All this to say that the mean girl attitudes, the hierarchies, and gossiping was not just relegated to cheerleaders and is not just relegated to cheerleaders. It exists everywhere. And there isn't just one pyramid with the jocks and the cheerleaders at the top and everyone else at the bottom. There are numerous pyramids, numerous hierarchies, one for each group. And trust me, there is always a ringleader. I had to change phone cameras because there is not enough There's not enough storage on my other phone. But let's continue. And there isn't just one standard of popularity. There is actually many standards of popularity, one for each group. And if you don't fit the standard of the group, you will be talked about. These other cliques also feel a sense of self-righteousness, a sense of superiority. They direct all their disdain towards the jocks and the cheerleaders for being these vain, horrible people when they themselves are no better. Maybe one group cares a little more about their looks than the other, but you both do the same thing. You both talk bad about people. You both make other people feel bad about themselves if they don't meet this particular standard. So who's really the righteous one? Who's really the good one? Not making the world a better place just because you don't wear makeup or just because you don't play sports, because your words still have the ability to hurt other people. You being a band geek or an art kid doesn't make you any better if you're still in. Hope this helps. But in closing, it's so interesting to see that so many people hold this stereotypical view of popularity to the exclusion of reality. They hold this view of a mean girl without even realizing how many people actually are mean girls. But when we see it all the time in movies and TV shows, it can really make us feel like the illusion is reality. With all that being said, it is also important to acknowledge that there is good people in every clique and there are bad people in every clique. We've talked about the bad people, but let's briefly talk about the good people. Just because someone is popular or a nerd or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're going to act a particular way. While there are bad people, there are good people. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave your thoughts about this topic in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.